me tell you what happened in this match. Disciplinarian and Little Miss Smarty Pants thought that they was too good to tag with me, so she literally refused to tag me into the match. And what happens in a match if I don't get tagged in? The other person loses. She lost the match, not me. I apparently need to find either a different partner or I need to go for a different title because the only person that can get the job done is Jessie Jones.
You know, and we all have our 15 minutes of fame, and I'd like to take a couple of my 15 minutes to talk about the rights and the wrongs in the world of professional wrestling.
And it is for the WWE Championship.
This match is for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship.
The World Heavyweight Championship.
The match and new NWA Heavyweight Champion.
We appreciate you guys coming out and taking your time to support women's wrestling in America.
This match is for the AWA World Heavyweight Wrestling Championship.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling Podcast with your host, Mr. Green. How are you? And thank you. Welcome to the show. I'd have to put a little bit of a disclaimer here. Now, this episode that you're about to listen to, the review of episode 8, was actually recorded several weeks ago. This goes back to some of you might have heard me in different podcasts say that I was having some PC issues. And so this goes back to me having some issues with the PC and I was unable to get it out at the time. And so even though I was recording these things, they were just kind of piling up on each other. This one was recorded back to back with episode 7 and episode 8. There's a little bit of a cutoff in there at the beginning, which is why I'm doing this. To give a proper intro to it, so I can actually separate the episodes. So just in the vein of full disclosure, I wanted to make sure that I got that off, so people know that this episode, although it was. The review is valid and everything is the way that I wanted it to be. I just wanted to give a little bit of a connecting point from the start to what was in the middle of the episode. So like I said, since it was a back-to-back one initially, this would have been in the middle. So we're going to go right into episode 8, the review. This is covering WoW. I can't remember the date that I had with that, but this is just giving a little leeway into the show like I would normally do. I didn't want it to come off as subpar. So there we go, folks. That was it. I just needed to give a little bit of a disclaimer there. So thank you for tuning in and on with the show. Following week, another episode, another run of WoW and its superheroes. And I will admit, the one thing that WoW does, that pretty good, and I think is unquestionable. Well, I ain't going to say the one, but one of the things that they do that's pretty good is that visually they present very well. Very well. They have a lot of people, like I said, Leia Bacona, for instance. We'll use her as an example. Looks like a star. And if they don't do something with her, if they somehow drop the ball and they don't give, her at least a run at challenging for the championship at some point, I'm going to personally feel like they have just, really dropped it there. But episode 8, the template is pretty much the same. We've already set how this is going to go. The recap of the Beast and her injury and why she can't currently defend. Reina Del Rey is set to take on Wrecking Ball in the main event. Even though we've not been introduced to Wrecking Ball at all, they've brought her up in the opening segment here. So we know that she is coming to WoW, even though later on they kind of contradict that. I mean, anyway, we'll get to that. So she's introduced as if she's already known, and she's already a main eventer, even though this is her first time being seen. This is one of those cases of things that, you know, people have complained about in AEW. They're probably a great example in that they acquire talent off of the independents who have some sort of a name, and it's just assumed that everybody knows them. Well, that's what we got here. We got on Wild, we got Wrecking Ball, who wrestles as Heidi Howitzer on the independents. It's just kind of like assumed that people will, you know who she is. She's talked about like she's a big threat and she's a main event girl, but, you know, this is the first time we ever seen her. So nobody that's watching this show who isn't on the independents or somebody like me that follows it wouldn't know who she is. And there's no reason for you to feel like this would be some sort of incredible match aside from the fact that she has an interesting look, like a female road warrior or something like that. But it's a nice intro, but it misses the mark in that it's talking about stuff that I would say probably 90% of their audience has no idea of. Segment 2, we have another round in the tag team tournament. I had to think about that one for a second, but yes, this is another round in the tag team tournament. This is round 3 for Miami Sweet Heat, and round 2 for Adrianna, Gambino, and Gianni. Gambino and Gianni are a good-looking team. They're green, they're a little inexperienced, but they look good, and I like the pairing of them. I said it already. I enjoy the pairing of these two, and I think that they could get somewhere down the line. And them losing here doesn't really affect anything, in my view. But I hope that they get the opportunity to really build on the team and establish themselves so that they get the chance to challenge for tag team championships at some point. The twins in this, Miami Sweet Heat, the Carlson twins, are slightly better. They got the match goes, the heat is on Gambino until they turn it around. No surprise here, Sweet Heat wins. I think it was already kind of preordained that Miami Sweet Heat was going to win. Walking into this tag team tournament, I pretty much made my picks from week 1, and that I was like, it's going to be the twins. They're going to the finals. I can already feel it. They're just a step away. They're going to the finals, so let's just take that for what it is. After this match, it is announced that they're in the finals. Dave McClain comes into the ring and he's like, hey, you're in the finals. The twins take the mic. They are, I love the Carlson twins. They're sweet young ladies, but they have got to get better on the microphone. They are willing to speak on the microphone. That much is clear. But they are not good. They're not good on it quite yet. This is not their strong suit in standing out there cutting a promo, even when they have somebody that's leading the interview. And I'm not entirely sure that Dave McClain is the best lead for an interview, but it would have worked better or come off a little better if they were better orators, if they could kind of get their words across and talk about what the tag team championships mean to them, and getting up to the finals and all that good stuff like that. But they just could not do it physically in the ring. They continue to get better. I've seen them do some matches on the independents where they looked really rough, and they've gotten much better. They're still not great, but they're improving. And they've established their finish. They got the high-low thing that they do as a finish in the ring, and that's what they applied to Gianni, by the way. And again, I thought the match was fair enough to where that Gambino and Gianni didn't really get hurt in this. So take that for what it is. I'm not really sure how that was a tournament match, other than, again, they just kind of slotted them in as is. But there they are. You know, you had Sweet Heat taking on somebody else who was just kind of randomly tossed into their way. So they are going to the finals, and we pretty much know that they're set up to go against the Tonga Twins. So it's two sets of twins. It's the Tonga Twins versus Miami Sweet Heat, the Carlson Twins. Getting out of this, they advertise the next match, which would be Penelope Pink versus Sahara Spars. And then off into a segment. We have another sit-down interview, number 2 for Spars, where she talks about her military background and how it helped her, overall. So another one of those. I can't say it enough. Nothing wrong with the video packages, but we don't need to see that every single week. We just don't. Because they don't discriminate about who gets the packages. I mean, even the heels get a package, and it's not like when they get it, they are trying to make you hate them. They telling you about all the obstacles they overcame and this, that, and the other. Whereas here for Spars, it works because she's a babyface. The only downside is that we've heard it. We've more or less heard this already. So I don't know what we're getting a second version of it for. So segment 4, Spars versus Penelope Pink with Lana Star. This is a decent match. Again, not something that is surprising to me. Both Spars and Pink exist outside of the Wild universe. So they got experience. They know how to, work a match and probably function with each other, whereas it might be a little bit more difficult with some of the other people on the roster. Spars, at some point in the match, hurts her knee, although this is not a point of interest in the match. It's almost not even used. The end result here is death, not by submission or by using the knee or the hurt portion of Spars' anatomy already. It is from the Pink Nightmare, the running knee strike by Penelope Pink, and she gets the 1, 2, 3. Here is another example of Lana Star being Lana Star and doing what she can to improve and evolve as a manager. I love it. I've already said I'm not big on the Penelope Pink name. I would prefer that she actually be who she is on the Indies, just be Marina Tucker, and going from there. She's the same thing and everything but the name. But I digress. The point being here is that they win the match, and it essentially sets the stage for them to claim going after the championship. And that's what Star does. She comes in, she cuts a promo, pretty much demanding the title shot. This turns into an interaction between McLean and Star and Pink. They're touching, well, not touching. They're conversing with David about what they want. Because he is the recognized matchmaker, and he's the recognized lead commentator, and he's the recognized in-ring interviewer. At this stage, I would also suggest that David McLean kind of throttle back on some of this stuff. He's too big. I mean, not like he's a big guy or something like that. He chews up the scene. David McLean chews up the scene when he's in it. And he does a lot. I mean, when they have a match and they go to the commentators table, more often than not, I won't say that they do it all the time, but I would say maybe 9 out of 10 times, more often than not, if they put the camera on the commentator table, they put it on him. You don't see AJ Mendez. You don't see Stephen Dickey. They pretty much just put it on him. If somebody has to be interviewed in the ring, David McClain goes in there and does it. If something happens backstage that needs an authority figure, it's David McClain that's doing that. If somebody has to acknowledge something at the ringside for a matchmaker, it's David McClain. You've got to get somebody else in there that can do some of this stuff rather than him all the time. You know, he's a recognized name and personality, but I say at the very least, there's two things that he could do right now that would change some of that. One, let Stephen Dickey and AJ Mendez do the commentary. There's no reason for a 3-person booth. There just isn't. And I keep saying it. Stephen Dickey has been there long enough to where I'm sure he understands and knows what David McClain wants out of his commentary. Because I know there's a particular style that they like to keep it lighthearted and kind of campy and blah, blah, blah. But there ain't no reason for them to have 3 people there. Just go at the 2 and be done. And also let somebody come in the ring and do the interviews. Somebody, that can do that regularly and be, the post for the microphone. It doesn't have to be Dave McClain getting up from the table and going over there, every chance they get to do some sort of interview segment. I know that none of these things will change because I'm sure he probably enjoys doing it and doesn't see any reason for it to change, but those would just be the suggestions. They can kind of maneuver that. Next thing we got is a vignette with Jessie Jones, Samantha Smart, and the Disciplinarian. Jones is basically forced her way into being the Disciplinarian's partner. Because as we know, she was once 1/3 of the tag team championships along with the Darling twins. And that was stripped away from her. It's hence why she's running around saying she deserves a shot at the, being in the tournament, which she does. It makes perfect sense that she should get some sort of opportunity, but that hasn't happened. I mean, now they did make means to try to explain that, I guess to kind of take the heat off of the promotion. Well, David McClain was like, well, your partner's left because of a family emergency, and you didn't fill out to be, part of the tournament. You didn't, and you never went and got a partner, so I can't put you in it. So I mean, that took a little bit off of them and put the heat back on Jones to where, like, well, if you'd have just done these things, you might be in the tournament right now, or you might still be the champion. But since that didn't happen, we have to move on. So I appreciate that, and I will stand by it saying that Jessie Jones probably went out of her way to make sure that happened. Like, give me a microphone, I'll take care of it. She does better than most when she's just given the microphone an opportunity just to cut the promo and relate the information across. Because she did it fine. She did it well. She got information across, and she's just good at it. She's been doing this long enough. She's just good at being on the microphone and getting the information to the fans that needs to be related. But this sets up for the next match. This is Jessie Jones and the Disciplinarian versus Randi, Rah-Rah, and Coach Campenili. I put in highlight on my notes, is this a tournament match? Because I thought they said something about it, but it was never addressed again. So I was like, I have no idea whether this is a tournament match or not. I don't think so. This is the old heel odd couple going on between Jones and the Disciplinarian. That's what this is. Campenili is basically the hero of the other side, even though although be it somewhat of an arrogant hero, she is the hero on the other side helping out Rah-Rah. Rah-Rah takes a beating in this match until Coach blows the whistle for the distraction roller, which was stupid. This was a ridiculous end to the match. I guess that was the only way that they saw fit to get out of this. But I just it didn't make any sense to me that, okay, we're in the middle of this match. The coach pulls the whistle out of her sock and just decides to start blowing it in the middle of the middle of the match, while Rah-Rah is in trouble by the disciplinarian. And then lo and behold, that for whatever reason was enough to have Rah-Rah slip out and get a roll up. Now I don't know how or why that would have happened. Why this whistle blowing would have caused that. Technically, it wasn't cheating because she didn't interfere, but you got that win because of the coach and her distraction whistle blow and the roll up for the win by Randy Rah-Rah. Randy Rah-Rah 2.0. So you got these two, and they've got the win, and unfortunately, Jessie Jones and the Disciplinarian lose, and the Disciplinarian's losing streak continues. If I was going to use a phrase that was brought up many years ago by one living legend, Larry Zbyszko, he used to come on every week and talk about the Armstrong family. We're not talking about Bullet Bob, but we're talking about the sons of Bullet Bob when they were on, when they were just kind of getting started. And the Armstrongs would lose, and they would lose, and they would lose, and they would lose. And it just got to the point where Larry Zbyszko would end almost all of their matches, and the curse of the Armstrongs continues. And this is what I'm going to start with the disciplinary. And the curse of the Disciplinarian continues. Another loss to another wrestler over the course of these years. I mean, holy smokes. She might have maybe 1 or 2 wins in like 4 years with this company. It's just one loss after another. And I can see that there cannot be any plans to push her into any sort of main event position or challenging for a title or anything significant. Now, she's just there to take the loss. And I think it pretty much shows at this point. So they go, and McLean does this interview also. Again, probably could use somebody else, like I said, chewing up the scenes. But during this interview, we get Coach heel tendencies starting the show. She's taking over the interview. She's not letting Rah-Rah speak. Every time McLean tries to talk to her, she being Coach Campenili, pulls the microphone back and explains for her. And, Rah-Rah's kind of like, yeah. She's, I don't want to say letting it happen, but she's being somewhat passive about it. Okay, so as I was saying, she was taking over the interview, showing heel tendencies begin. So this is the first time that we're seeing some sort of definitive personality trait attached to Coach Campenili, other than they show some sort of short video of her, which in my opinion only shows her to be an incompetent athlete. Funny, it's kind of like I said, it was the video package where she's kind of like doing the Mr. Perfect deal in reverse, where he was going and showing how good he was. She's doing all this stuff with complete and utter confidence, but she's failing, but not aware that she's doing it. Anyway, so we get that, and we've planted the seeds for where they are going with Campenili. Next is a video package on the Wrecking Ball, and I will say that there are very few times that I say that they switch a name with somebody on Independence and they sound better. This might be the one. I think I might like Wrecking Ball better than Heidi Howitzer. But anyway, this is a heel promo, and I like that it's established that it's heel, but at the same time, it lets me, it makes me question, okay, what are we getting here? Is this a heel versus heel match? And that's what it looks like it's coming off as. It's a heel versus heel match. Reina Del Rey and Wrecking Ball. Now, I do have to roll back a little bit and say that during the course of this, the the management acknowledges like, okay, yeah, we flew in Wrecking Ball to come in and be part of the show. And Reina Del Rey is coming out the ringside on the microphone, and she's another one that's good on the mic, saying, well, anybody in the back room, she's essentially reestablishing that she's the top dog there, and, especially since the Beast is now hurt, and that she's still going after the championship. But at the end of all that, she said, all right, well, then, whoever wants some, just let them come on out here. Anybody in that locker room, come on out here now. So she issues an open challenge to anyone, despite being advertised all episode that she's going to be taking on Wrecking Ball. So I'm not sure what this open challenge was supposed to be or why she was doing it. They already told you who it was going to be, and Dave Clay said we flew this person in, so it can't be a surprise. And it's already been. It would be different if she was flown in and then she just accepted. But they already put it in the front of the show. Like in the main event, this is going to happen. So I'm not sure what this open challenge deal that she was doing is about. But, that is WOW's continuity. They tend to do those things. So we'll let that slide, I guess. It doesn't make any sense. Let's just put it that way. It doesn't make any sense, but this is not the first time or the last time that they do stuff that doesn't make any sense. This match ends, and there's no point going into it. It's basically a brawl, and it ends in a double count out. It's a great way to, is it great? I mean, it's a good way to show how tough Del Rey is. But this is like a rock fighting a rock. Nobody got any advantages. A moving force, irresistible object, and it didn't serve any purpose. Especially when you got Del Rey coming out there, who has been in the main event mix, challenging the Beast, telling everybody who listens how tough she is and that she can whoop anybody in WOW. And now she's like, all right, well, then anybody come on out here and I'll prove it. And she can't. Wrecking Ball didn't get beat. They pretty much just fought to well, I'm not going to say pretty much, they did. They fought to where it was a no winner. This didn't work. This didn't work. If it feels like this match happened without having a goal in mind. Like, let's just have a match and, let's fill the time. That's what it felt like. I'm not saying that's what they did, but that's what it felt like. The goal here for me should have been, let's keep Reina Del Rey strong. Let's put her over in the main event, and let's keep her strong. There's no reason to have somebody who just walked into WOW that day take her to the limit. And, because she can't be here. Why are you challenging the Beast? You can't beat this person. She just showed up. She didn't even have a record at WOW. So it didn't quite land for me. And again, I'm not even sure, is she babyface? Is she heel? WOW tends to ignore doing that or acknowledging who's baby and who's the heel in a lot of their events, this being one of them. So it for whatever reason, it didn't hit the mark. It just kind of fell a little flat. Didn't get a goal across for me. It was just a match for the sake of having a match. Did it look good? Sure. It looked fine. Do I think that both of the ladies that in the match were talented? Yes, I do. I think they are both very talented. I just don't think that whatever creative angle that they were trying to plant, they being the WOW creative team, I don't think that it did either one of them any favors. Particularly Del Rey, because she, of all of them, needs to be kept strong as a opponent for the returning Beast. What should have happened is that she should have been fed someone that she could just beat up. Yeah, they could give them a hard time. Yeah, give her some fits here and there, or maybe come close to rolling up. Maybe get that close to getting that win in there. I mean, like Tiki Chamorro, she should have been in there. So one of those miscellaneous girls that they have on the roster that we know they aren't ever going to do anything with, but they're just there to get beaten. Foxy Fierce. Somebody. They should have had somebody come out there that they could have look good, lose, and have Del Rey just move on. Wrecking Ball did not need to be introduced in a non-winning effort. If she was going to be introduced as this badass that's out there, then let her be introduced as such. Let her win. Let her get something. You know, these things would happen back in the day, and I'll use an example that fits Wrecking Ball. When the Road Warriors were hitting the scene and promoters wanted them in, the Road Warriors were just kind of established as the hardcore, well, not hardcore, they're just the invincible team, and that nobody could hurt. And they're the only people that in those particular territories who could stand up to them were probably your top guys. And they had to work together. They had to, you know, form a team in order to take that challenge on. And even though, you know, you didn't see the Road Warriors lose, you got the impression that they were as tough as they came. And if it takes, we'll use the Memphis thing, if it takes Austin Idol and Jerry Lawler to get in here against both of these guys, then wow, they must be something. You know, and they got the opportunity to toss them around, beat them up, do all, you know, all that good stuff to them until they lost by disqualification, I think. But that's what Wrecking Ball should have had something like that on the opposite end. She shouldn't have been going there against Del Rey because it forces your creative to have to make a choice. Your top girl who's challenging for the championship, does she lose? Or somebody that we're introducing as a big brawler, do we have her lose? Neither one of them needed to be in a position where they could have possibly lost. It would have been better. They just should have had somebody that they could stick them up against that can take the loss. Have Del Rey, like I said, beat up on somebody on that roster who just came out. Like, okay, I'll take on the challenge, and put him down. 1, 2, 3. Have Wrecking Ball be introduced, a debut match, and they have whoever in front of her. I don't know. Since they don't really establish who's good and, you know, who's babyface and who's heel, we'll just say Ice Cold. And then let it be an exhibition. She just burned through Ice Cold as quickly as possible, showing off her power moves, showing off how tough she is, showing off what kind of damage she could do. Pin her, 1, 2, 3, move on. And now we've established either person. And neither one of them had to take, you know, a loss. Well, neither one of them took a loss here. It just was a no contest. Which, again, like I said, it was pointless. It didn't serve any purpose in pushing them to that no contest match. And that was episode 7 and 8. Those were interesting, but we will continue to keep our eyes open. I tend to try to make sure I watch this week in and week out. I got notes on all this good stuff, and there are more reviews that are down. I'm just going to separate it. I don't want to put it all in one big omnibus and have hours worth of me talking about it. So I'm going to break this up, and we're going to talk about the next episodes. We'll do 9 and 10 on the next one, and that'll drop really soon because I already have it in front of me, and I'm probably going to be sitting down and recording that momentarily. Listen, if you are looking to show how good you can be as a booker, you know what you can do? You can go to customwrestling.com. Well, you know what? Let me make sure that I'm getting the Custom Vixens Wrestling. You know, I got my words wrong there for a second. But you can go to Custom Vixens with an S, wrestling.com, and you can get in there and book your match. That's right. You want to show the world that you are a better booker than maybe the creative staff at WOW? Well, now's your chance. Go to customvixenswrestling.com and go and fill out for their future film days, and you can get some of the talent that they've got to match up in the match that you want them to have. Who is there? By the way, you got girls like Fantasy, you got Rock and Roll Roxy, you got Malibu, you got DeWold. You even at one point had Nina Monet, who you might know as Siren, the voodoo doll. So if you want to get some of her in there, you can get that. You got Brooklyn Creed, another top girl. And there are others in there. All you've got to do is you've got to go to CustomVixensWrestling.com, and you can go to their link. You can go to their shop page, and you can get matches that have already been produced. If you don't want to produce it yourself, then go get a match that's already set up for you. You can watch that. You can watch Fantasy versus Roxanne Lane, Malibu versus Roxanne Lane, Roxanne Lane versus Malibu a couple of times. I think she's in there like 3 or 4 times. So we got a couple of matches with those two back and forth. Crystal Fire versus Mama Hannah and Peyton Storm in a handicap match. A Little Bit versus Autumn Marie. Those two going after 2 or 3 times. Jennifer Justice versus Fantasy. You have several matches there for the picking. All you got to do is go in and find it and or book your own. Go to CustomVixensWrestling.com and you too can be the booker. Also, if you're looking to support this channel, then you want to go to WPNWrestling.com, WPNWrestling.com, which is the link or the central or the nexus for all of our items. And if you happen to be looking at this on YouTube, then you can do one better. You can go right down to the t-shirt link that I have here, and you can pick out a t-shirt and you can support the channel that way, because every purchase, every donation, every click up, like, or subscription helps the channel out to a big degree. Helps us get into the algorithm, helps us remain to be seen, helps with the purchases, or just like I said at the beginning of this thing, I had some computer problems. When I got sick, my computer got sick too, and it's still not fully up to speed. Well, those donations help things like that. Me being able to get that repaired the way that I need it repaired, so I can get back to editing the proper way. So there we have it, folks. That is the review. Is the double up review for WoW. 7 and 8. So when we get back, it'll be episodes 9 and 10, and hopefully we will get the train back on track for the WoW and the WoW review. So that being said, thank you for tuning in for this episode. I appreciate you, and I appreciate your time, and I appreciate your support. And this is Mr. Green saying that this is Mr. Green saying so long, and we will see you on the next go round. Take care, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the WPN's Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling. If you have questions or comments, please contact us via our Facebook or our YouTube channel at the Women's Pro Wrestling Network. If you're new to the WPN, feel free to subscribe to our channel and like our page. We appreciate your support. Thank you again for listening.